I have to squeeze past you to get off the bus. Okay. This is my tiny MC story, which happened in my first year at uni, about 8 years ago. The bus I, then 20 female, had to take to uni was the most popular route in town, meaning it was always packed. Because I got on at the first stop, I always had a window seat, which meant that someone was usually sitting next to me when I had to get off, and I had to do the awkward thing of lifting my backpack and straightening up in an exaggerated fashion to show them that they had to stand to let me pass. No problem, usually, just a bit awkward for socially awkward me. One morning, a guy in his 40s sat next to me and promptly manspreaded across my seat, pushing his leg right up to mine. I thought it was weird, but hey, maybe this guy had a painfully swollen scrotum or no self-awareness. Or both. Anyway, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, and as he was focused on his phone and ignored me, I did the same for the rest of the journey. Then, when we were getting close to my stop, I started the awkward "I have to get off so let me pass" show. No reaction. So I stood up from my seat. Still no reaction. Me, sir, no reaction. I tapped his shoulder. Sir, I need to get off. Can you let me pass? The guy looked up at me and, with the widest, most disgusting grin, said, "Well, sweetie, looks like you're gonna have to squeeze past me." No problem for such a skinny girl, right? Some of the passengers standing around us noticed and were about to intervene, but I was pissed because at that point I had missed my stop and I wasn't sure if he was a pervert or just liked to piss on people's days, but I didn't want him to win. Also, no one had ever called me skinny. I have what one could call childbearing hips, thank you very much. So I smiled at him and said, "Okay, have it your way." My backpack was filled with half a dozen library books that I was going to return that day, and it was bulky and heavy AF. Usually, I would have put it on after leaving the crowded bus, but not that day. I shouldered my backpack so it was hanging at the right height and clumsily, forcefully and, just in case he was indeed a pervert, in no way sexily squeezed past the guy, dragging my huge backpack across his face. If I leant back to make sure to really get his nose, well, that surely wasn't intentional. And if he emitted any pain-fueled protests, well, they must have been muffled by my backpack. As I was standing by the door waiting for the next stop, I looked back to see him covering his nose with his hand. It looked like he was checking if was bleeding, but I don't think he did. He might have had a scratch or two from my backpack, but he wasn't injured or anything. His pride was, though. He kept glaring at me for the glorious half-minute it took for the bus to reach the next stop. I was in such a good mood that I didn't mind walking back to where I was supposed to get off. Amazing. When I was in Brazil, I got blocked in by one of those pervs, who kept touching my breast under his arm and wouldn't let me get out of the seat until I grabbed his touchy finger and bent it backward until he yelped. I was young and really worried that I would get in trouble, but actually, a postal worker on the bus used his mailbag to not so subtly block him from coming near me again until he got off the bus. Swollen scrotum or not, there's no excuse for being a colossal dick. This is why women used to wear hat pins. I thought this was headed to, so I got up on the seat, stepped on his crotch and over him, situation. But congratulations on the bag to face bash. He doesn't have a big dick, he is a big dick. What a jerk. Drop your backpack on his lap, oops, after scraping his face next time. This is OE of those times you wish you could fart on command. Like cabbage farts, you know. Really crop dust him good. Accidentally drop your book bag onto his scrotum and then you'll see how quickly he makes room. I remember getting my bag at the airport. I got it on the edge of the carousel but the person next to me wouldn't give me space, even when I asked politely. So I swung that thing like I was doing hammer throw, straight into the person's guts. Well done. The only way this could have been better is if the bag, accidentally, slipped off of your shoulder and right onto his twig and berries. I'll always remember that lady in the lineup to board the airplane. You know how people seem to be in a rush to board that plane, like they believe the order we board it in somehow matters in 'em saving time in their day, even though we will all take off and land together. This lady is standing so close behind me and my backpack, gently pushing me. Every step I take she closes the gap. Once in the airplane, she goes to sit before me, but her woolly cardigan got hooked on either some Velcro or zipper hook on my backpack. She's now attached to me and we have to detach ourselves. I whispered to her, "Maybe you weren't close enough." Got unhooked and walked to my seat. IWISH, you had a recording of that. Would have gone viral in an instant. Ha ha ha, well done. I also hate those unaware people in public transportation. Most are fortunately okay, but there are some bad seeds among. I understand your springy gait after that episode. Say, excuse me. No theater performance of standing up and arranging yourself, just say, excuse me. And repeat it 1 time loudly so everyone hears. The 3rd time is, get out of my way. Bus driver, please hold the bus. And then wipe the immovable object's face with your butt. Pass a little gas if you can. But start with the courteous request. I love this. I used to use my backpack to dissuade creeps all the time. Man. Stands very very close behind me on a crowded bus for obvious reasons. Me. Loosens the straps on my textbook-filled backpack to come between any interesting parts. Op is a legend and absolute artisan of the paragraph. Not only creepy but sounds like a well-practiced creeper. He'd explain away his move as trying to stop you from falling on your child if confronted. Hope that clever shit's balls get gangrene. Ah ha ha. I'm trying to understand from the guy's perspective and I'm drawing a blank. Does awkward clothing-to-clothing contact actually bring any level of sexual satisfaction? It couldn't possibly be worth it. I was hoping as I read this that you put your knee in his crotch as you climbed over him, but it's great that you got his face. Nice. It reminds me of a time when this Karen woman spread with her handbag, refusing to remove it on a pretty full bus, hoping I would find another seat, but I sat on it pretending not to see it. I apologized, profusely saying I didn't see it, and handed her the bag, then proceeded to ignore her. There are a lot of high school and middle school kids that take the public bus home. It gets super packed like a can of sardines. I've had a couple of instances of trying to push through the crowd to get off, and one time the bus almost left before I could get off. What a jerk. I would have double finger flipped him off right as the bus doors opened. Hopefully he learned a lesson, but probably not. People gonna people, asses gonna hole. If more people stood up for themselves against jackasses like this, the world would be a more polite, if not better, place. This is the way. This happens to me more often than you would think. Sometimes the person is sitting in the aisle seat and won't get up so I can sit, and then I get to knock into them twice. As I squeezed my skinny self past this man, I would have accidentally let the backpack slip off my shoulder and unfortunately land right in his manspreaded lap. Nothing close to this ever happened to me. But in my city people have a habit of blocking the entire bus, preventing people from going to the back. So if they don't get out of my way after I said excuse me, I make it a point to just kinda barrel though the crowd. Surprisingly, a lot of people are fine with being pushed to the side rather than move 10 feet. First, that was awesome. He got exactly what he deserved. Second, he was definitely a pervert. Good for you. Screw that guy. It's one thing to obnoxiously man-spread. It's entirely a new deal when someone is just a dick for no reason. Also, as a man I can confidently say man-spreading has no place on public transit. But it isn't just man-spreading, it's anyone who thinks it's okay to rest their anything on you. Backpack, groceries, arm, whatever. Keep your body parts and belongings to yourself. Get girl. Ah, the leg lean. I had a guy do that to me on an airplane while I was sleeping, or trying to. We had a nice work conversation before that and I'd given him my email. I didn't make a deal out of the leg lean because I was trying to sleep. Turns out I should have, because he sent me a booty call email before we could even get out of our seats. Sadly, I was hoping the heavy book-filled backpack was going to get dropped into his open crotch. Flushed. I mean, at that point, I'd argue it's false imprisonment, and you'd be well within your rights to fight your way out. Also, I am not a lawyer. Very well written, thank you. Have my free award. This is me, except instead of a backpack of books, it's my big fat ass and a fart. Brilliant use of backpack. I'm one of those who had lots of shit in her bag when I went to school. I also used my bag as a shield from bus crazies. Wonderfully done. I hope he did get a nosebleed. What an absolute creep. Middle-aged men on buses are, like, 75% chance they'll try to grope you by putting their hand down as you sit. It's a big reason I always tried to sit alone or refused to sit next to an older man. Also a big reason why I now drive or bike instead of bus. One can only hope that each generation has less men that turn out like this. I was hoping you were going to let out a huge fart in his face. NGL, I would have accidentally dropped my bag onto his incredibly easy to catch while manspreading man bits and listened to the applause. Amazing. Please take my free award for having the balls this guy thought he had. A foot stomp for mood measure would have been very appropriate also in this situation. That surely wasn't intentional. It's okay, you can be honest with us here lol. I had to go through something similar on the NYC subways just recently. Kept trying to leave, old dude wasn't moving. Thankfully, I'm 6'3" and had a bag fully of bulky, pointy gear. I don't mind pushing my way through if I'm at my stop and somebody wants to be an asshat about it. Growing up there was this kid a little older than me who was mentally and physically challenged. I had not seen this kid in years when I noticed him riding part of the route I took to and from school. He would do that, sit next to a female who sat next to the window and fondle their breasts. Some of the women went silent in horror. But one young woman told him to stop repeatedly. When he didn't, I picked him up by the neck of the shirt and threw him into another seat, would not let him get up until he was ready to get off. I am willing to help those who stand for themselves. This puts the malicious in malicious compliance, and deservedly so. Good thing you did not swing it up to your shoulder as you passed him and knocked his lazy, sleazy ass out cold. I really thought you would fart in his face during this story. I like you for what you did. Good imagery with the smear effect. Great work, you tried. I'll ask people politely to move, and if they don't, I just push them out of my way. Also, when I'm holding a door open for a group of people and nobody thanks me, I just let it go in their faces. I'm petty, I know. Women should carry a hat pin, a stout, 4 inches 5 pin. Use it when necessary to defend yourself. I'd have dropped it on his scrotum. What a ring piece of a man.